so much knowledge that we've got to share, so much support and guidance that we can help our clients get their businesses up and running, booming, just helping people, help get passionate in their business with them as well. And I love hearing their stories, their new ideas as to why they started out in business, where they intend to take this business.
Welcome to A Kiwi Original. This is episode 17, and today on the show I have Emma Murphy from Kiwitax. What a great name. Kiwi in the name. Tax, not so much, but Kiwi, I'm loving the Kiwi. Welcome on the show, Emma.
Great, thanks for having me, Ryan.
So tell me, what does Kiwitax do?
So Kiwitax offers friendly, efficient accounting solutions for small business and rental properties in New Zealand. We've just recently celebrated our 20-year anniversary in business, and we've recently won an award in regards to the Books by Chambers Commerce Business Awards for medium business. So we're pretty proud of our achievement with that. We exist to provide real, simple, genuine, plain English accounting tax advice for New Zealand businesses and rental properties. Specifically today, I'm going to talk to you about our business side of things rather than the rental property. But yeah, we just basically wanted to remove the barriers of what a typical accounting firm offers to their clients in regards to being open for communication. So by having our Talking With Us is Always Free tagline that we rolled out 20 odd years ago has enabled us to be able to just sit back and chat with our clients, find out what their needs are, find out where they need support in their business, give advice, and without that fear of being slapped big accounting charges after that chat and discussion. Of course, the accounting industry has evolved, and more we are talking more and more with our clients because we're not just involved in the compliance side of things anymore. We've moved into that realm of business mentoring and guidance and working alongside our clients in their businesses rather than just after year end. So, the idea of Talking With Us is Always Free. It's still there, but there's also so much knowledge that we've got to share, so much support and guidance that we can help our clients get their businesses up and running, booming, and achieving their business goals, that we've now got services that are based around that as well. And absolutely friendly. All our team, we're a team of over 20 staff now. We've got a number of Kiwis from all different places over the world that are all Kiwis. And everyone's just a great big Kiwitax family. So we're all learning to adjust at the moment, being based from our home offices, missing each other. It's going to be crazy when we're all back in the office in about a month's time and catch up and things. But it's been a really good way to see how much support we've all been providing to each other too through this time, even though we're working from our offices and home.
I think that's one of the advantages, I think, with your company being that talking's always free. Calling in is that you're very used to speaking with your clients a lot because there isn't that barrier of cost that is in place with many businesses who need advice from their accountant. And I think something else you said there, which is interesting, I picked up on, is just the change that's happened within the accountancy profession over the last decade. There's been a lot of shifts in the types of systems and technology that enables you to provide some of these new services. What are the types of things that, if a business is currently using a traditional accountant versus one that is enabled by some of these new services, what are the differences they would experience with Kiwitax?
So customer clients that are still using the more traditional methods of record keeping, paper documents and spreadsheets and things like that, they're obviously having to input a lot of their time into getting data ready for their accountant, and often the data is very untimely because it does take so much time for them to get that ready. It often can be also easily errors can be made with some of that manual data in regards to like documents missing or errors made in spreadsheets. So now with the evolution of all this artificial intelligence, the likes of MYOB Essentials and Xero, these cloud-based solutions, the benefit that our clients that are using those solutions, what they're getting is that they've got an accountant who's sitting there in their office at the other end, looking at their real-time data, able to say, this is where you're at, and this is where we need to get, and this is what you should have in regards to preparation for tax and that type of thing. Whereas a client that's providing paper documents, of course, it's going to take some time for us to process before we can actually start giving them feedback. And by then, everything's changed. If we wanted to implement some changes, we may have missed the boat. Whereas using this online cloud-based solution, our clients are saving time themselves, and so they can work on other areas of their business, other aspects, and they're providing us really timely data so that we can assess that data and have the great conversations that need to be had as the business is trading.
And help me understand, like, what would be one of those recent conversations that you've had that maybe wasn't possible in the past because now you've got these systems? What are your customers ringing you up asking, and what are you providing?
Yeah, I think a big one at the moment, and I guess with in light of what's happening with this with COVID-19, is that probably one of the main queries we're getting is clients needing some cash flow forecasting for purposes of bank lending applications. And so if we've got a client that's using one of these online solutions, of course, we can jump on it right there and then for them. We can extract, we can have a look at where they're at, what their patterns are, how that business trades, and we can then create a forecast in a really relatively quick space of time for them to get that into the bank to help them get lending approved and make decisions around their business. So yeah, one of the big benefits of having this online solution data available to us in real time is that we can then use that data to be able to produce these cash flow forecasting documents that appear to be now and a criteria for any lending application. So the banks themselves have sort of seen a real strong trend towards every loan application, whether it's $2,000 up to a property mortgage. They're requesting these forecasting documents. And so, yeah, without not having that real-time data there, it's going to will take us some time for a client to send in year-to-date results, process the manual method of that data, and then go from there to create a forecast. Like I say, it's too late by then. Decisions may have been lost. Opportunities may have been lost.
Well, it's that, isn't it? That timely provision of that information, because I know businesses right now are surviving on wage subsidies. They're surviving on the money that's been provided by government, 12-week lump sum. But then there comes that next phase, which is, well, what can my bank do in terms of lending or extending my overdraft or being more flexible on repayment terms? And that is backed up by the government underpinning it to, I think, around 80% of the risk. But only if the business can provide some insight into what type of cash flow is required and what recent trading history is like. So I'd be surprised if there wasn't businesses within the New Zealand Made community that would struggle to provide that information to their bank and would need some type of service or help to be able to get that part sorted. Does it need to be online? Can you provide that type of forecast with the old way of doing things with paper as well, or is that?
Well, for us, with our clients who we've already prepared financial statements for, we've obviously got the knowledge, the insight into that business, and we can still proceed without. If they were not using an online accounting solution, we could still proceed and get them quite timely a cash flow forecast done. However, there's going to be probably a lot of people that are considering, they've got time on their hands, so they're inquiring about like new accountants or basically ready to start up a new business. Those things to us, like we don't have that historical data to be able to extract and create a forecast that quickly or that easily. It's a case of it still can be done if you've got more manual methods or spreadsheets. For our clients that we have a relationship already, we can quite easily get that cash flow forecast out based on what we already know about their business. But, for going forward, businesses that are using these online solutions, we don't know yet what the obligation or criteria is going to be after the lockdown as to what businesses may have to provide to the government to have qualified and substantiate the wages subsidy they've received. So, it's been provided on the basis that you've had a reduction of 30% or more or less in sales from the previous period or year. So, if you've got those online solution products that you're using for your business, your MYOB, you're going to be able to easily extract that information to provide and support your claims that you've made for the wages subsidy. And we've been educating our clients about how they can look into their solution and easily find that information. But for someone that hasn't got those on place, you're basically going to have to be going back and screening through bank statements and, having perhaps some accountant provided reports to justify the claims if need be. Well, that's a bit of a wait and see as to what's going to be required after this.
It's it's definitely a time where a business needs to be on top of their numbers and have information that is relevant to parties that request it. Government, IRD being one of them, banks being a second one, a third one being your accountants, fourth, internal, your board of directors, to be able to make decisions, not just between now and let's say, end of June or whenever the time is that things get a little more relaxed, but just having that insight so you can make smart decisions, because you don't want your cost to be too high when you come back, but you also want to make sure that you're prepared to leverage any opportunities in terms of revenue that are out there. So it's a tough time, and I think it's frustrating for businesses because this isn't like the GFC. This isn't a financial problem with a financial solution. It's a health problem and a health solution with a massive business headache as a result.
That's right.
What are some of what are you hearing from clients calling in at the moment about the impact that it's having on their business, without talking about any specific client?
Well, a lot of our clients obviously have had to close up and shut up shop for now. So I think it's really highlighted for them that they potentially some of them weren't prepared a bit of a contingency plan in regards to cash flows to get through times like this. So we'll be having some really good discussions with our clients around making sure that they do have an understanding of what they need to put aside for their income to prepare for things like holiday pay and like annual leave and things like that for their clients, because that's been one where a lot of our clients that are employers, they have to, obviously, with the wages subsidy, they've received that, but they're topping up payments out of annual leave for their employees that have had that incurred. And, of course, they've somehow got to find the cash for that. So preparing, in a way that you're preparing for tax and your ACC bills and GST, also doing a contingency plan for putting enough aside for holiday pay as your staff and unit. So that's been one I think that some of our clients have struggled with, is not having that buffer of cash available to pay out their employees' annual leave. And of course, they want to look after their employees over this time. They're receiving the subsidy, but the employer still has to ultimately bear the rest of the cost. up to that 80% at least. And so they're trying to keep good faith with their employees and do their best as an employer that they can do by them. But of course, when they weren't prepared and didn't have that cash buffer, that's been something that's quite hard. And of course, some of them are going to be having to contact their lending institutions to look at getting some overdraft facility in place or a small business loan over this time. And those ones that are using those software solutions, we're quickly jumping in. We're extracting a bit of a forecast, a little bit unknown in regards to the next few months as to how things are going to go. But what we're trying to do is also work as a good opportunity for us with our clients to actually say, well, whilst we've got this time, let's look at the business. Let's go through those 7 areas in your business where we might drill in and just have a look at the efficiencies and the level of profitability of your business within these 7 areas. And whilst we've got some time, let's set down some goals for when things are back up and running. Let's get that profitability improved so we can apply it. We can substantiate what we're putting in your forecast. We can say, well, we've made this forecast based on the assumptions due to these goals that we're setting down. And then that's also going to suffice for their lending application just to get through these times, like for the likes of the ones that haven't got that cash buffer for employee leave.
Sorry to interrupt. This won't take long. Subscribe to the show and you'll never miss another one of these amazing episodes. Right back to the show.
Yeah.
It's certainly a time to be looking at those things, even if you do understand your numbers. Like a lot of businesses, if you're a business owner, you're on top of your numbers in general. You're thinking about what your till takings are every day, or your service revenue, or your contracts. Those numbers usually off the top of your head. But what's different here is that there's a different set of rules that have been put in place recently. Like even, the minimum wage went up on the 1st of April, and coming out of lockdown, you still as a business owner will be required to pay that minimum wage going back to the 1st of April. But that's not something that any business owner would necessarily know. So they need to talk to someone like Kiwitax to get that advice, to know that what their obligations are under these new rules, and also what's sometimes just a second pair of eyes looking over the same numbers can give you different answers or options. So I think what you're doing is great. What's the thing in terms of, Emma, I mean, you've been in Kiwitax almost since its founding. What's the thing that keeps you there? Like, why do you love doing something which is so accounting centric when someone like me couldn't stand to do even a day worth of it? Like, I mean, full disclosure, Kiwitax are my accountants because I don't like doing accounting at all. I don't even want to put in any of the applications to the IRD, so that they do everything for me. So what makes you tick?
I think for me, numbers-wise come quite easy for me. So there's a lot of logic with numbers. It's pretty black and white in regards to how things work numbers-wise. So that sounds probably a little bit lazy, but the numbers side of it comes to me quite easy. But the reason that I'm still at Kiwitax is actually beyond the numbers. For me, it's more about the people and the relationships, and just helping people, help get passionate in their business with them as well. We have a whole range of clients, and I love hearing their stories or their new ideas as to why they started out in business and where they intend to take this business. And so me personally, I love getting on board with that. I love getting involved, giving them some guidance, being someone to bounce some ideas off, because business is really lonely, particularly our clientele are typically sort of less than $1 million turnover, often sort of husband and wife teams, or one man, one woman bands, and so they don't have a lot of people to sort of talk to about the intricate, finer details of their business. So I love being that person on the other end where I can listen to their ideas. I can give some sound advice in regards to what they need to be doing in regards to putting aside for tax and things like that. so they can get some peace of mind and sleep at night, that side of things is being looked after. And then what the opportunity that we have now, particularly the area I'm particularly passionate about is the growth plan area. That's where we do drill into those 7 areas and have a look at what is the business doing right now and what can we do better in these areas. And let's just have a look at, like, if we can make just some small differences in those areas, set some little strategies down and some goals to achieve some improvements in that area, what does that look like on the bottom line? And I love doing that, and I love, like, as we trade along with them in the year, and we meet up every 3 months, we check in and see, well, how did we establish that goal? Yes, we did. Let's have a look at bottom line. Oh, we've seen some improvement. Look at how it was last year to where we are this year. And so that to me is like why I'm here, is because it just gives me, great pleasure to see our clients achieving. It's more money for them in their hand. It's more, so in some cases it's more time. Sometimes it's not always about profitability. It's about going from having to work 60 hours a week in their business to scaling it back down to a more desirable 30 to 40 hours and having more time in that with their family. And sometimes it's just a case of they're just doing everything to just spread too thin over all areas and just helping them get some efficiencies in place. We sometimes might look at outsourcing some of the tasks that are involved rather than going straight to the typical employee relationship. We sort of consider all aspects and all options that they've got. And it's we've seen some really good businesses grow through with Kiwitax. We've been quite proud to be sort of alongside them with that journey as well. Yeah, it's
a super important thing to have that external perspective on what you're doing, and someone that understands why you're doing what you're doing. Like, I know my personal experience with Kiwitax over the last decade, when I shifted from consulting to publishing books, there's a different set of things, and you knew what to help me with, like what questions to ask, because now I'm carrying stock, which I never carried as a consultant. It was just ideas and paper, whereas now it was like it's a physical product, and there was a shift that went on there, and you helped shift what I needed to expect from how to run that side of the business. And I think the other area that, and I think it's probably not talked about enough, because New Zealand's quite a high trust environment, is that I know my numbers don't go offshore. Like, I know, even if I don't know everyone at the organization, because it's grown substantially over that time, I know that my numbers are staying within New Zealand. They're being dealt with by New Zealanders. They're not going to be sold to a third party, or someone else isn't going to see them. So it's a very closely held relationship, because you get to see everything. I'm almost like financially naked in front of my accountant. You can see all this, everything of how the business works. Yeah,
we're really proud of our New Zealand-made brand. I'll be honest, there was a time at Kiwitax where the accounting world was the new thing was looking at outsourcing overseas to have the processing done in countries outside of New Zealand, and your accountant is then just the face. And so, it was like, okay, this is something we need to consider as a business. Is this a way that we would take Kiwitax forward? It didn't take us long to, basically probably about a 2-hour discussion where we were like stripped straight back and thought, what are we doing? Like, we are here to help our clients and help our staff and employees. We're supporting New Zealand businesses. And that data, it's our clients' data. It's not something that we're going to ship off to a third party to God knows where that data may end up. And we've really stuck to our guns and, and looking after our staff, looking after New Zealand businesses. And, we won't be considering doing any sort of outsourcing in regards to Kiwitax services, that's for sure. We're very strong on our values about that, and we're looking forward to seeing after this too. All New Zealand businesses are going to have to support each other. So, I'm very excited to see the New Zealand-made brand actually really get, just a little bit more. I mean, it's a great brand already out there in the world, but this is going to be, I think a great big improvement in the culture around the New Zealand-made brand for New Zealanders, not the people that are overseas, but it's just the New Zealanders. New Zealanders getting proud of New Zealand businesses again. Yeah, so we're excited.
You're right that New Zealand Made over probably the last 15 or 20 years has evolved from being domestic focused to something that the rest of the world got introduced to for the first time in many parts, particularly in Asia. And so their love affair with everything Kiwi has been at its height for the last few years. But when we live here, like you and I, you take for granted that you have clean water, you have delicious fruit and veg. It's taken for granted, so it doesn't excite us. But I think what this current crisis with COVID-19 has shown is that there's something all Kiwis can do, and that's be conscious about where we spend our dollars. And I did a survey across our social pages, and over 60,000 Kiwis saw it, and we got hundreds of responses saying that they intend to shop differently after lockdown. Some are going to buy less because they've worked out they don't actually need to spend this. They were spending on things they shouldn't have. Others just want to focus on businesses that were shut, and they want to make sure that money goes round with the local businesses. So I think that's fantastic, and I hope that as Kiwis do that the cash flow forecasts you're making then come to fruition because Kiwis are supporting Kiwis.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm excited to see when Kiwis take that, and I really I've got every confidence in us Kiwis that we will support each other. And a big word in this for now is kind, and it's about being kind, looking after your the people in our New Zealand bubble, and so we're really keen to be part of that. We support our New Zealand businesses as well as we're a privately owned business that started from scratch, and keeping it local within New Zealand.
Well, I wish you every success, although I know that's not needed because the business is very strong, and the way you do business, that friendly accounting cannot be underestimated. It does have that very friendly voice and face, and I think that makes the difference, particularly when you are dealing with something as dry or complex as numbers. So thank you very much, Emma, for your time and your insight today, particularly at this period of time in New Zealand. And I look forward to sharing this one actually with our business owners who are manufacturers, because we do have a lot in that mum and dad business owner, 1 to 5 employees. That's the backbone of New Zealand's economy. So if we all do our bit to help that money go around and get back to them once they open up, then that helps our economy be resilient.
Yeah. Well, we're definitely keen and happy to have those chats with people. So, if they're needing some help in that area, wanting to get a better understanding of how they can be prepared in their business and start improving their profits, then send them along, get them in chat. We can go through a bit of a sample growth equation with them to show them what some of the services that we offer are about, and they can see if that sort of aligns with what they're seeking in their business, and happy to go from there.
It's a valuable service. Thank you very much, Emma, and stay safe over the coming long weekend and period of time.
Yeah, you too, Ryan. Stay safe too. Thanks.
This has been a Kiwi original brought to you by the New Zealand Made team. Thanks for watching. The New Zealand Made trademark is used by over 1,200 businesses in New Zealand. The New Zealand Made team licenses that trademark. Check if you're eligible at bynz.org.nz. If you feel that someone should see this, share it with them now. Otherwise, subscribe to youtube.com/bynzmade, and we'll see you on the next episode.